When the year started, it was a one-off, nothing more than a quick mention.
Chinese health authorities are still working to identify the virus in Wuhan.
A few dozen patients in China had contracted the novel coronavirus. And on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, a patient in Washington state became the first confirmed case in the U.S. But here in North Texas, we were more focused on a concrete slab that refused to fall.
It was the major mistake that's become a major draw. It has been 1 week now, yes, 7 full days since the failed implosion brought all of us the Leaning Tower of Dallas.
North Texas wouldn't have its first case until March 9th, a man from Frisco who took a work trip to California.
This one person has been asked to stay home with family. He is not in a hospital or being treated.
In hindsight, it's hard to believe what we were still debating at the time.
The St. Patrick's Day Parade is one of the biggest parties in Dallas, with 100,000 people standing shoulder to shoulder on Greenville Avenue.
And then by midweek, everything changed.
Dallas County, Tarrant County, within hours of each other, reported their first presumptive positive cases of COVID-19.
Dallas canceled the parade. The World Health Organization declared COVID a global pandemic.
This is not a drill.
And one of America's most beloved actors announced he and his wife were infected. And that night, in the middle of the Mavs game, Mark Cuban received some jaw-dropping news.
An NBA player tested positive for COVID-19 and the league suspended the season. Mike, this is huge.
At the time, we hadn't started social distancing, much less wearing masks. And the Mavs, they wouldn't play another meaningful game for 5 months.
When we talk about coronavirus, this is the outcome we are all afraid of. An Arlington man is likely the first person in North Texas to die from COVID-19.
But like a lot of cases in those early days of the pandemic, Pat James' family didn't get confirmation it was COVID until after he passed away.
We're surprised that the testing results took so long.
When our kids left for spring break, it was still, see ya in a few weeks. Maybe a month or so at most, until the day Governor Abbott ended any hope of returning.
School classrooms are closed for the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year.
That left some parents struggling to work from home while overseeing their kids' schoolwork online. Zoom calls, virtual learning, words that meant nothing to us now defined our lives.
Yesterday, he had a meltdown. At the end of the day, he was pretty fried.
We started using memes to make sense of this weird new world. But in some ways, the pandemic put the brakes on our lives. We found time to inspire each other, to ride bikes, say happy birthday safely, and take walks together as a family for the first time in years.
We are all craving for connection.
School districts adapted and moved some graduation ceremonies outdoors. And the seniors from Argyle received their diplomas at the Texas Motor Speedway.
It made us realize how important the people around us really are, and it just made us value high school even more.
As the case numbers leveled off in May, Governor Abbott started lifting the restrictions.
A long list of businesses are opening in Texas over the next few days.
It was our first glimpse at a cycle we'd repeat time and again. Lockdown orders drive down the cases, but as soon as they're lifted, the virus comes roaring back with a vengeance.
And it's almost every day in the last week that we've been breaking records. Yesterday, there were more than 10,000 new cases across the state, a single-day record, and 60 people died from the virus.
That moment in July felt like the worst of it. But a few weeks later, we'd see well over 300 patients die in one day. And by fall, nearly 17,000 people would test positive on a single day.
I want to know if kids are back in the classroom, how safety-wise, how that's going to look.
As the summer dragged on, districts were devising new ways to reopen schools, even as some parents and teachers broke off to form co-ops, cohorts, and learning pods.
Ice cream. What is those two small words?
Ice cream.
Andrea will teach 4 students in person in Frisco.
We found new ways to celebrate old rituals, including a drive-through state fair.
Look at that. These folks are serious about their corny dogs.
But while some lined up for fair food,
Come on, guys. Keep the line moving up.
hundreds of thousands of families needed help to simply put food on the table.
Well, I lost my job, and so it's been very difficult to
to survive.
The pandemic devastated our economy and brought families to the brink of being homeless. And by late October, the virus had come roaring back to slam Texas with an even more powerful second wave.
Hospitalizations in El Paso have surged more than 350% this month alone.
Overwhelmed doctors and nurses have been working nonstop for months on end.
Here's all the masks.
These shifts, we're told, are 10 to 12 grueling hours a day under very strict supervision.
And this is for real. No one is making this up.
And by mid-November, there were so many patients, they were running out of room.
I think the hardest thing is just knowing that there's not an end date in sight.
Except maybe there is.
Methodist Dallas was the first hospital in North Texas to receive the COVID vaccine.
Not right now or anytime soon. But the past few weeks have given us something in awfully short supply. Hope.
By the end of this week, Tarrant County hospitals will have received between 18 and 20,000 doses of Pfizer's brand new COVID-19 vaccine.
The new year always brings the promise of something better. But simply being done with 2020 might be reason enough to cheer.